Hey everybody, it's Brandon from Yamaha here, and I'm here today with our friend Jake Eddy. How's it going, Jake?
I'm good, thanks for having me.
Oh, we're happy to have you here, and today we're taking a look at Atmosfeel, Yamaha's proprietary pickup system, and we're looking at it through the lens of these beautiful FG and FS9 guitars. And you've been playing these guitars for a while now, huh?
Yeah, the mahogany one, which is this one, and also a rosewood one a little bit recently, and they're so good.
They're killer guitars.
Yes.
Yeah, glad you think so. And I've got the small body version here, the FS9. Same thing, comes in mahogany and rosewood. But what's great about these are that we are not just playing FG9s and FS9s, we're playing FG9X and FS9X. That X means that these guitars have the Atmosfeel system in them, which is a pickup system Yamaha developed several years ago and is brand new to these 9-level guitars. And what do you think of the sound so far?
Yeah, well, something that we talked about earlier was that I've never owned a guitar, an acoustic guitar with a pickup, because I hate the way they sound almost all the time. And I don't think they usually sound like the guitar, and this is like so pleasantly surprising for me to hear it back on the playback or on recordings, and it sounds like a mic in the room, where it sounds like sitting with the guitar and not just like an electric guitar that's bigger and heavier.
Right.
You know?
And that's the goal with these. Atmosfeel was developed really to alleviate the problem of pickups that don't sound like guitars. The goal here was, how can we get this to actually sound like an acoustic guitar, get it to translate in a room you're playing in or on a recording, and believe that's what we've done here. So let's walk through what Atmosfeel is and what it means. We'll do some playing and we'll chat about it a little bit.
Sure.
At its core, it's kind of a simple system that we've engineered to work as great as it could possibly work. So there's 3 elements happening in the guitar. There's an undersaddle piezo pickup. There's a proprietary transducer sheet, sort of a contact sensor that's on the body, and that's picking up the top wood vibration of the guitar. And then there is actually a miniature microphone inside as well. Each of those is sort of doing a different thing, filling out the sound in a different way. The result for the player is that it doesn't sound like an undersaddle pickup sometimes does, where it just has a tendency sometimes to sound not like a guitar. Undersaddle pickups can sound a little fake or a little tacky, and this system just sounds like your guitar.
And I don't know a lot about pickups, so you have to forgive me, but that contact area, is that something that sets this apart from other I mean, is that part of what makes this special, or I don't
Definitely. Know. Yamaha developed the transducer contact sheet just for the Atmosfeel system, and it's essentially a thin sheet of paper that has a plus and a minus. Kind of works like a condenser microphone would, but it's picking up the vibrations of the top wood of the guitar. What that does in the system is it gets all of the clarity, all of the high end, all of that sparkle, and then the undersaddle pickup is really handling the low end and the boldness of the strings. So that's sort of your lows and your highs. The microphone that's in the guitar is aimed up at the side wood and really gets the character of the guitar. So if you're using rosewood or mahogany, when you start to blend in that mic, it'll sound like rosewood or mahogany.
Yeah, I noticed that. That's funny. I like the mic. For me, the mic blend being up the highest is like kind of my preferred sound, but I get the allure of the other side. I was messing with it a little bit earlier, and it's like, does a different thing.
Definitely. Yeah, and what's so great about it is the versatility. Although it's a simple system, it's only 3 knobs. As you turn that mic mix up, you're taking up a different space in the mix. If you're playing in a different setting, maybe you're playing solo, you might mix it in a little differently, and when you join your band, you're going to change that setting so that you sit in the mix the right way.
Well, and it makes you play differently, at least me. Like when I sat down and compared the sound of both those things, it kind of brings certain things to the front of my playing. Like, when the pickup's on, I love to play it up the neck where it's really clear and bright and crispy. And when the mic's on, maybe I would prefer to like play more first position, more chords, more like full sounding thing. So yeah.
Yeah, it kind of responds like an extension of the instrument. When you play a different guitar, sometimes you want to play differently. And when you dial in this pickup system, you want to play differently depending on how it's dialed. So the Atmosfeel system has 3 knobs. One is just a master volume, pretty self-explanatory. The other 2 are a mic blend and a bass EQ. So we can talk about what the mic blend and the bass EQ do. The mic blend is taking that microphone that we just talked about and it's mixing it in with the undersaddle and the transducer contact sheet. We actually spent a lot of time figuring out the right balance between the undersaddle and the contact sheet, and so that's fixed. And when you mix that mic in, it really just fills in that mid-range to the sound. Now the bass EQ is actually a center frequency control for the bass. Effectively for the player though, you can dial in more or less bass, take up a different space in a mix, maybe adjust if you're in a different venue and you do start to get some feedback like acoustic guitars sometimes do, you can move that bass EQ and eliminate that feedback frequency. So you were talking about cranking the mic blend,
Yeah.
right? I would love to hear how that sounds and how you might use a setting like that.
Well, yeah, so when I think about like what sounds the least like a pickup at all, it's obviously going to be more mic blend. And, you know, that's like... And that's like very welcoming in first position, but also up the neck. I mean, you know, that kind of thing. But then when I get up into these kind of higher registers, it's still good, but I kind of am tempted to like dial it back a little more toward pickup. It's a little brighter, a little crunchier, a little more like, a little more zing. And then I find the mic side to be more like more fundamental, more like a little more air, a little more, you know, it's got a little like,
A little more character to it
More
on the
character,
mic side.
yeah.
But when you dial the mic back, it does seem to cut through a little bit better.
yeah, like this would be all pickup, I guess. It's really not unnatural sounding though. I mean,
Yeah,
I mean, I kind of like it there. Too.
it sounds
I'm surprised
great.
at myself a little bit.
I mean, I totally agree with what you said. It's not unnatural sounding. That can be sometimes the issue with undersaddle pickups especially, which are very common in acoustic guitars. But because in the Atmosphere system, the undersaddle pickup is really mainly handling low frequencies, and that transducer sheet is filling in the high end, it gets much more of a full image of the guitar, and it doesn't sound just like a unnatural pickup system.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing that I think most players don't dig about certain pickups. It's just like you plug them in, and it's like a new guitar that doesn't sound like your guitar. But these, these are like, it's kind of remarkably similar to how it sounds in the room.
Right, and that brings us to a good point. As an acoustic guitar player, you're making a decision. Do I want a big body guitar? Do I want a concert-sized guitar? Do I want mahogany? Do I want rosewood? Do I want an Adirondack top or a Sitka spruce top? And when you plug your guitar in to go play at a gig, you want it to sound like your guitar. You want it to sound like the choices that you made. And that's really the goal here. That's what we've accomplished with the Atmosphere system, and it's a lot of fun to mess around with.
Yeah, man, absolutely. I was thinking earlier, like when I have a custom FG9 that you know, and when they were making it, I said, don't put a pickup in it. Don't you even think about putting a pickup in it. And now I'm playing the pickups and I'm thinking, is it too late to drill a couple holes in that thing?
Well, it's not too late. We might just do that for you. So, yeah, another thing I really like about this Atmosphere system is that bass EQ. We've talked a lot about the mic blend, which is awesome for versatility, but the bass EQ really lets you sit in different musical settings in the right way. So, for example, you're playing right now solo, and
Yeah.
you might want to take up a little more space in the mix. Where do
Sure.
you have your bass EQ?
I have it
now?
just a touch off of center, like 1 o'clock.
So it's a little boosted.
Yeah, just a touch. And that's back to talking about, sorry, I'm gonna get my more mic blend back, but when we talk about that fundamental note, that character of the note, like honestly, the more bass you can get in there without it getting boomy, the more of that you're gonna get. Like that's like kind of 75%.
And now we're really getting bass.
All the bass. great like that.
Yeah, and when you're playing solo, especially in drop D like that, where you have this droning note low down, increasing the bass really takes up all the space that you would want it to take up in
dude,
the mix.
yeah, it gets big in a hurry.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. But then the opposite is true too. If you're playing with your full band, where you've got maybe a double bass, maybe you've got even drums or some other stringed instruments
Yeah.
around you, you don't want to take up all that low end because it's going to get muddy real quick.
Right, and so this would be the
can-
opposite, right? Like, this is way, basically the bass EQ down to 0. I almost think of like, if I were taking this on a country session or something, I might be fighting a drummer in like a pedal steel or keys or something like that.
Yeah.
Great down there.
And that to me sounds like it would sit in a mix really well. Maybe you're not necessarily trying to cut through and be the lead soloist at that point in time. You're trying to sit back and play the chords to the song.
Yeah.
And what's really cool too is that the bass EQ and the mic blend react differently depending on which model guitar you have. So you're holding right now the FG9 MX. It's the mahogany FG style guitar. I've got the FS9 RX, the rosewood small body. And then behind us, we've got the other two. We've got a mahogany FS and we've got a rosewood FG. The pickup system in all 4 of these guitars is voiced slightly differently for each guitar. And that's something that's really unique to this system. It actually also extends down to our other Atmosphere guitars at the 5 level, the 3 level, the other FGX guitars, for example. And what's cool about that is that the bass EQ is going to respond differently to a small body than a big body guitar. I think you could get more bass out of an FG style guitar, and you could probably get a little more sparkle out of an FS style guitar.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of been thinking of like all mic and all bass EQ. That's going to be like a lot of sound on
a big body guitar.
Great. It's really good.
And I can mimic the same thing here. All mic, all bass EQ. Basically, all the knobs are up at 100%. But I'm on a small body rosewood guitar, and it's going to sound still full and still bassier than if the bass EQ was lower down, but not quite the same character.
It's different, but it's, And that really warms that one up a lot, I think.
It does.
Yeah,
that's
nice.
another aspect here is that on a rosewood guitar, sometimes you want to warm it up a little bit.
Sure.
On a mahogany guitar, sometimes you want to cool it down a little bit.
Yeah,
And
no
you
doubt.
can really manipulate the system to get whatever sound you want. So something else I want to touch on is the ability for these guitars to handle fingerstyle, because we've been hitting it a little bit hard so far. If you're playing fingerstyle on a small body guitar, for example, you might want to dial things in a little bit differently. So if I want that clarity of the attack of each note, I might move my mic blend back. So this is mic at 50% and the bass EQ also at 50% with the volume all the way up. And this is how it sounds. Really handles that delicate style of playing well, as well as doing the flat picking thing.
Man, and if in fingerstyling too, or like playing fingerstyle in a country setting, you can go for so much pickup. You can go all the way pickup. Like I was thinking, sort of.
Oh yeah.
That kind of thing is so good.
Yeah, it sounds great. And because you're doing that sort of 1/5 bass movement, you can really hear the attack of each bass note. It's not getting too muddied or too full.
Well, and the thumb, like with the pick, if you're playing with the pick and the pickups all the way on, it's like, can get a little bright, I think. But if you're playing fingerstyle, your thumb is tempering some of that brightness as well. Just your fingers are a different thing.
Totally.
It's way different. So
Yeah, and there's another point too. I mean, different players have different anatomy and different preferences, whether you're using a pick or your fingers. I have nails on my right hand, and naturally it's a little brighter than if I was just using all flesh on my fingers. So I can dial the system in to what works for me, and each player can really do that with these guitars.
yeah, well, I'm having a blast doing it.
Yeah, well, you sound great on it. So you said that you normally don't love pickup systems in acoustics. Why is this system different for you?
Yeah, so obviously the main thing is that this actually sounds like the guitar, in which we've touched on that already, but you don't often have that. It usually is like, here's the sound of the guitar, and then here's this other sound of the guitar with the pickup. And then just the guitar lover, the guitar nerd in me hates the idea of filling these with like a ton of stuff and drilling a ton of holes in them, and this seems like kind of minimally intrusive to me.
Definitely. I mean, the last thing you want on a well-built acoustic instrument is to take a huge chunk of wood out of it
Yeah.
and fill it with plastic.
Right.
And so the fact that this is really only those 3 small knobs, it's 3 small holes in the side of the guitar,
Right.
and then you've got your output jack.
But
It's
that
a
hole's
pretty,
going in there anyway.
That's true. You're going to have a strap button anyway.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty minimally invasive setup. And to get such a high quality sound while doing really so little to the actual wood of the instrument, it's a win-win.
Yeah.
To learn more about the Atmosphere pickup system or these guitars, check out the Yamaha website. And to try them out in person, head on down to your local Yamaha dealer. Jake, thank you so much for being here today and for checking these guitars out with me. What do you say we play them a little more?
Let's do it. I'd love to.